Muito boa tarde, amigos e espectadores do Página Tripla, tudo bem? Meu nome é Caio Santus, e hoje a gente está aqui para uma ocasião mais que especial, que é o aniversário de 30 anos do Kyle Rayner, que é um personagem extremamente interessante, que é um Lanterna Verde, o primeiro que eu acompanhei, justamente por causa da Torre de Babel, quadrinho do Mark Waid, grande quadrinho do Mark Waid, que inclusive em breve terá vídeo aqui no canal. Mas nesse momento eu tô falando português e meu convidado ainda não está entendendo o que eu tô falando. Daqui a pouco vai chegar meu co-host aqui comigo, Gabriel Garcia. Mas eu vou falar em inglês um pouquinho para ele entender também o que eu tô falando. Mr. Banks, I'm speaking in Portuguese,
Uhum.
but I'm just introducing you. Pessoal, a gente tem aqui hoje a huge comic book artist who's known by his work in Green Lantern. He created the Kyle Rayner, the character that today we're here just to talk about him, just to talk about these 30 years. Gabriel is a huge fan of Kyle Rayner, a huge fan of Darryl Banks, and he's joining us in some minutes. But at this point, I have to say welcome, Mr. Banks. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm fine too. It's been, I don't know, about 1 year since the last time we chatted.
I think so. About a year ago.
Yeah, and it was a great video that never came out for some reason. I don't know why, but it's a pleasure to be here with you again. And let's talk about Kyle Rayner because
Okay.
it's his third anniversary. So I don't know how is it for you because he has a long history now since '94. What changed for you? What life made to you on these 30 years?
It's hard to believe it's been that long. It's one of those things where I still remember even starting with DC Comics,
Yeah.
doing Legion of Superheroes related projects and dropping little hints to the company that, I had some ideas for Green Lantern, but I figured, I'd have to be with them a long time before getting the opportunity. But it's the idea that's been 30 years, in some ways it feels like yesterday, and others it felt like a long time ago.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that's interesting because that's kind of like I don't know if I can compare, but it's like a son, right? Because you created
Oh, it
it.
is.
Kyle is like a son. So, okay, oh, wow, this son is now grown. That's
Right,
interesting.
right.
That's very interesting. And I have some questions here for you,
Okay.
and Gabriel has some questions too. But when he got here, he starts his questions too. But I will start with mine first. That is
Okay.
that Kyle Rayner is one of the most important human Green Lanterns, right? And there's no only him. There's Hal Jordan, Guy Gardner, John Stewart, and for you, how it was to innovate when the how can I say how is to innovate when the topic is that you have to create a character that has a brand, in the case the Green Lantern brand, but in a total different, total new style. How was it for you at the time, you and Ron Mars? How was this experience?
It was one of those things where in the time period that happened, change was in the air. You had the advent of Image Comics. You had a lot of things going on at Marvel. So, I mean, the market was really booming. So, because we had the death of Superman, which really definitely changed the industry, especially DC Comics, it was time to see what could be done uh, uh, for radical changes with the book. Because according to my editor, the Green Lantern book wasn't doing that well. Um, but whenever anything crossed over into whenever the death of Superman story crossed over into a book, the sales went up. So I guess the executives of the company go, well, what can you do to keep these sales going? So because the Green Lantern book wasn't selling that well, they almost didn't care what we did. So we were allowed to do very extreme changes. Now, because there were a lot of gimmicks at the time, Ron and I, we never approached it like it was just a temporary thing or a fad. We really came up with ideas that we ourselves enjoy, what we like in character creation and design. And I have to really credit my editor for making sure that Kyle Rayner's costume design wasn't too crazy, because a lot of my initial designs that were rejected really looked like he was straight out of 1994, and it was way too complicated for really what he should have been. And my editor, his name is Kevin Dewey, Kevin says, you'll thank me that we're keeping the costume design simple. After 22 pages, you don't want to wear yourself out just drawing the main character, considering he'll be creating all the ring creations and all that sort of thing. So it was a thing where we were tasked to come up with something different to draw in new readers. Really, that was our assignment, but it was an assignment we really enjoyed.
Yeah, of course, and that's interesting because as you mentioned, Image was a huge. It still is, but at the time it was something new, and everything has to have the Image style. So and Kyle Rayner has this. We already chatted about this. He has his mask that you inspired on Sunfire, something like that, right? Sunrise,
yeah, right.
And it's very interesting. All the concept, all the visual concept, but how was actually to build this visual, because that's interesting. At the same time you were building this visual for Kyle Rayner, you had to make the parallax, and parallax is a total new different visual than the how Jordan's costumes and so Kyle Rayner is okay, a Green Lantern. He has the symbol, but it's different. Everything is different. How was the building of these costumes for him?
Well, with Kyle and with Parallax, I was developing them at the same time.
Yeah.
Hal as Parallax was a little easier because I knew exactly what I wanted him to look like. But the way it goes is I had to submit a lot of other designs just for them to look over. But I've always loved armor anyway. So when they said we're redesigning, Hal's look, immediately I'm thinking he's getting some kind of armor. Growing up, I loved Iron Man a lot. So, characters with armor, I find an excuse why he has armor later. But the thing that they were not too crazy about was the name I gave him, Parallax. That was the name that I submitted. He was going to be called the Protector initially. He was going to be Hal Jordan the Protector. And I thought, when you look at the story and what's going to be happening, does the name Protector, is it really appropriate? I didn't think so. So
what will he protect?
Right. Who is he protecting?
Yeah.
Kind of like Parallax deals with a different point of view. It deals with how we're observing stars or heavenly bodies, that sort of thing. So I thought, Hal being a cosmic character, he had a change of point of view. So, I stated my case, and they thought about it, and then finally, they said, yeah, okay, we'll go with Parallax. And the same thing happened with Kyle's costume. Even after I submitted a lot of different designs, the one thing they wanted to keep was the old logo. And I thought, we've come so far, we might as well give them a new logo as well. No, we want to keep the old logo. I'm like, here we go again. Okay, here's why I think we should have a new logo. One, everything else is new. And also because Kyle, he doesn't say the oath like the classic Green Lantern. When they charge the battery, they say the oath. Well, since he didn't say the oath, I thought, well, let me imply it. That's why the logo is split in half like that, like in the middle, like a sun and a moon, like it represents brightest day, blackest night. And again, like, well, we'll think about it. We think about it. And then get back, okay, let's do it. So it's it was the same thing over again. So again, I submitted a lot of different designs. Some of them even, it's hard for me to look at. I'm like, oh, I thought that was a good idea. Some of the projections were just awful. So a lot of them were it was just too much detail for no reason. Again, keep in mind, this was 1994. So, I mean, you had characters out there, with Image. I were inspired by that. I guess I kind of, Image was the coolest thing going at that time. So I think I kind of wanted to feel like I fit in with that, but it wasn't, the designs weren't working. Like, we got to keep this a lot simpler. So that's what happened. Yeah.
Do you think that Image style, as we were mentioning, it's something that it was okay, it was revolutionary at the time, but do you think that is something that still remains today. This I don't know, this image style that happened in 90s. How do you think it's today on those days?
I think it's bigger than ever. It's big and only gets bigger. I mean, I call it the West Coast style because they were located in California, United States, and so that's on the West Coast of the United States. So I call it the West Coast style, and they influenced themselves, and then their influence, reached out to other artists. I think around the world. I mean, I think about Mark Silvestri, Jim Lee, so many others. I know I'm forgetting someone, but I think their sense of art and design was very influential and very dramatic. And I think I wished I looked like that, but my work it doesn't look like that. So neither does my design sense. So I had to work with what makes sense for me and find something that the company was happy with and hopefully the fans were happy with.
Total. Yes, I totally understand, and that's really interesting because, as you said, that is something bigger today. I don't know if I agree with this in this point, but I guess that we have something here that probably agree. That is Gabriel Garcia. Hello, Gabriel.
Hey,
Hello, Mr.
man,
Banks. Sorry for being late.
that's
The
fine.
traffic
That's
here
fine.
was crazy, man.
I understand.
There's no problem. Gabriel, would you like to introduce yourself for who don't know you yet?
Yes, of course. I'm Gabriel Garcia. I'm a writer, a comic artist, and I work for Nerd Vintage. Yeah, I interview artists, as writers, and I talk about comics, actually.
Perfect.
Okay.
That's it. So, Gabriel, I will speak in Portuguese right now, Mr. Banks, just
Okay.
eu fiz algumas perguntas para o Mr. Banks.
Uhum.
Você gostaria de fazer algumas também, já que ele está aqui com um tempinho limitado, mas vamos curtir ele, vamos usar aqui,
Com
porque a
certeza.
gente tem ele aqui com a gente hoje.
Vambora.
Pode mandar.
Mr. Banks, I am a really, really big fan of The Flash, and I have to ask you, was Kyle Rayner inspired by Wally West Flash or even Spider-Man?
He wasn't inspired by Wally West Flash, but definitely inspired by Peter Parker in many ways. I mean, we had to even make it a point not to make it too close. With Kyle's girlfriend, Alex, dying. Alex was created to be Uncle Ben for Kyle Rayner. Like Kyle Rayner was like a Peter Parker and Alex was an Uncle Ben, but we knew we couldn't have it an uncle. So, Ron thought, okay, we'll make it a girlfriend. So it's not too exact. But the reason we were really inspired by Spider-Man, because Spider-Man's awesome. In my opinion, one of the greatest, if not the greatest superhero concepts of all time. Yeah. So we knew we wanted something that had that foundation. And the reason we went in that direction is because when you think about it, we wanted to get new readers and we wanted to get people on the ground floor of what we're doing, since so many things we're doing were so different. So we feel like having a young character who's learning as he goes along, as the character learns, the new readers will learn. They'll understand, well, what is the Green Lantern? What is the power? How does it work? Why would you want to be a superhero? So that's why, unfortunately, his girlfriend dying inspired him to not just treat it like a joke, but to take it seriously when it comes to crime fighting and things of that nature. And it wasn't something where, we hate women or something like that. Ron and I and my editor, we all have wives, so we respect women a great deal. The whole thing in refrigerators, that was not something that we felt like it was something symbolic. It was more something like we needed to have something shocking so that the readers will understand that Kyle has gone from this happy-go-lucky person who just happened to be gifted this ring to someone that realizes that he has a much bigger role in the DC universe.
Yes, I have to ask you about this girl in the fridge thing. What was the impact of this on Green Lantern story?
It got bigger because back then we had censorship that was very cautious on certain images, and unfortunately, it kind of backfired on them because initially, when I had drawn that scene, the refrigerator door was open. So now Alex was still dead, but all the inside of the refrigerator was hollowed out, so her body was laying in there, you know. And so when my editor was informed that we couldn't show that, and so the first thing I thought is, well, you know, I had to draw a patch so they could put a door over that. I'm thinking, you know, most refrigerators, even the big ones, can't accommodate a whole body. Everyone's gonna. No, I'm thinking maybe at first I thought, even though I'm the one that drew it, I thought it almost looks like, is she in pieces in there? That makes it worse. So I thought, well, maybe it's just me. Maybe people will figure out. No, everyone thought the same thing I thought. Like, oh my God, she's dead, and like there's her head on one shelf, and there's feet on another. You know, it made it worse. So their attempt to censor the image made it so much worse, and because of that, we're still talking about it. It's 2024, and we're still talking about Alex in the refrigerator. I think if they left it the way I initially drew it, I don't think we'd be talking about it a year later. You know.
Yes. And thinking about Kyle's development, he became Eon years after, and then he go back to Corpsman, and then finally being the White Lantern. He got all the colors. Do you think that Kyle Rayner is the most powerful Green Lantern?
All that was after my run.
Yes.
I feel like because he was the Green Lantern for I think modern age, and we followed his development from the very beginning. I think it lended itself to wanting to experiment with different powers and things of that nature. So because of that, you know, maybe at one point he was. Now in my mind, he'll never be as powerful as Parallax was, you know, in his prime. I mean, just the sheer fact that he could alter reality. I mean, in the recent 0 Hour anniversary book, which I hope you got, we got to see some examples of Parallax's, you know, reality, you know, creating powers.
Yes. So about Parallax, Hal Jordan becoming Parallax was a turning point in Green Lantern's history. And Parallax was portrayed as a villain at first on 0 Hour, and then got his redemption in the Final Night. Mm-hmm. Yes. In all of those stories, Kyle was in direct contact with Parallax, being his rival, or on Parallax #1. Actually, Kyle was there helping him to say goodbye. Hal's sacrifice was always the plan, or he was going to be a Green Lantern rival and some stories or so?
None of that was the initial plan. What had happened was, you know, as I mentioned earlier, because the Green Lantern book wasn't selling that well initially, and that we were open to try extreme things, we started to get noticed by, you know, DC and the whole industry, but DC has structures. There are layers. Like, for example, like ranking. You know, like Superman is higher ranked than Green Lantern as far as books and priority. You know, and Batman's, you know, I think above everybody. So the higher ups were seeing what we were doing in Green Lantern and thinking, wow, this Parallax thing is kind of interesting. So Final Night wasn't even put together in the Green Lantern office. Like, for example, if you know, back then, it's probably still that way now, there are literal offices in a building that handle certain books. So the Green Lantern offices, you know, there were things that happened regarding Green Lantern that the higher up offices could make decisions on. Final Night was one of them. You know, the initial plan was, you know, we always wanted to bring Hal Jordan full circle. We always wanted to, you know, eventually get rid of the whole Parallax thing and return him to just being Hal Jordan, Green Lantern, and restart the core. That was the initial idea. Then comes things like, you know, 0 Hour and Final Night and all that sort of thing. And so it's like he got so big, but that's a good thing though. Like, for example, if you'll notice, when Hal Jordan first becomes Parallax, he doesn't have a cape. In Green Lantern 50, he's standing there emerging from the battery. He doesn't have a cape. Well, as he became a bigger deal to the company, the higher up said, we want to make him a bigger deal, and so he needs a cape. And so I'm thinking, like, Magneto or something. In many ways, I kind of make Hal Jordan and Magneto very similar. They have a sense of what they think is right, and they're not really a villain in their own mind. And I never really thought of Parallax as a villain. As more as he was just very frustrated. Like a person who, with Coast City being destroyed, he lost all his brothers, he lost his parents, he lost his childhood home, etc. And all he asked for the Guardians was to help him recreate it, and they wouldn't do it. And it was too much. It's like, imagine you're working hard on the job and your supervisor isn't sympathetic to your situation, and it's just too much. Could you consider what he did as villainous? Possibly, but his motivations were never, I want to take over the universe and enslave humanity. That was never his plan. So one thing that we really wanted to have was, we wanted to make sure, is it interesting? Is Kyle Rayner an interesting character? It can't just be the visuals or the costumes. It had to be interesting, and hopefully it has been.
Yes. Kyle Rayners have a big community of fans. He's one of the favorites of Green Lantern fans.
Yeah, of course.
I hope so.
It's totally, yeah. And I have a question about this. We were talking about all the thing on the girl on the refrigerator, and this is a big thing today. And Kyle Rayner is a character that hurted. He was hurted so much along the years. And for example, he had his girlfriend in the refrigerator, or he got blind because Batman got him blind in the Babel Tower, and a lot of things. For you, Darryl, what's the worst thing that someone made to your character, to your little character, that made him hurt?
I can't really think of anything in particular. There are times where he's had different costumes I didn't particularly care for, but characters go through different looks. As a matter of fact, I remember when he went back to his costume that looks like his first one, I initially saw it as a cover. I thought it was just a variant cover that they were doing as an homage or something, but it's like, no, he's going back to that look. I'm like, oh, really? Okay. The character himself, it would almost make sense that he would have different costumes, but of course I'm a little biased about his first design. So, but I can't think of anything that I've seen where I thought, oh, I hate that happened. Mainly because even though I was a part of his creation, I don't own it. It's Ron Marsden once said, it's like renting a car. After a while you have to give it back. It's like, no matter where you drive it, it's still not really yours. So, even though we were in on the ground floor creating it, it still belongs to DC Comics, not us, and they can do anything they want with them. So, with that thought in mind, I have to, there's nothing that really, I thought, I can't believe they did this or that. It's more like it's theirs. I can't tell someone what to do with something that doesn't belong to me.
Yeah. Não ouvimos.
Pode falar, perdão.
His original looks is iconic. Is completely iconic. How do you get that? How do you create that original Kyle's look?
There was a lot of designs that we went through that I'm glad that they rejected because they weren't very good. Keep in mind that it was created in 1994, and you had so many extreme changes in the costume dynamic in the industry itself, and I wanted something that felt like that. But unfortunately, or fortunately, we didn't go that direction because it would have made it very dated. Hopefully, his classic costume kind of fits in even today. But one thing my editor would always say to me is that you'll be thankful that we went with a more simplistic costume than some of the ones I wanted to do. He said, you don't want to go through 22 pages and be burnt out just drawing the character. And he was correct. Kevin Dooley, my editor, was very correct on that. The inspiration was I always loved armor. I mean, that's why Parallax is armored. But with Kyle, I didn't want the whole suit to be armored, just parts. So I just chose the forearms and the shins to have the armored look, and the mask to kind of feel a little bit more armored. And for those that don't know, Kyle's mask was inspired by a Marvel character from the 70s called Sunfire. And even though the masks are kind of different, I just love the fact that Sunfire's mask doesn't follow the contours of his face, kind of like a Batman cowl or something like that. It doesn't go real close to the face. It's kind of just more like around the face, almost like imagine Iron Man's helmet. It doesn't follow his nose and all that. I just look, for some reason, I've always loved that idea, and especially Sunfire. I like that character anyway. So I wanted that kind of jumping off point with Kyle's design. But it took several tries to get to that point till we came up with a design that made sense. I think about some of the ones that at first I like better. I'm kind of glad we didn't do it because they were pretty bad.
Yeah, this first design is pretty iconic and influential. If you see Invincible, is kind of Kyle Rayner's, right?
I can see some parallels there. I think it would be an interesting team up.
If you think about today, we talk a lot about his Mexican heritage.
Mm-hmm.
Was that an initial thought about Kyle's being Latin, Mexican?
No, that came with the next writer, Judd Winnick.
Yes.
That he wanted to explore that, and that's a great idea because I feel like Kyle has fans all over the world, but Latin America has been especially supportive of the character. So I like the idea that he has that heritage attached to him. It's almost like an appreciation, and we definitely appreciate all the fans, especially those in Latin America that have really been consistent with supporting the character.
That's perfect, guys. So this our time is going, but we still have time for a last question for each. So, Gabs, you can say yours first.
Yes. Let me see. I wrote a lot of questions, so I have to.
If you want, I can go first, Gabriel.
Please.
Okay. So for my last question, Mr. Banks, firstly, thank you so much for coming. It's been a huge pleasure for me and for Gabriel. We hope to have you here again with more time to talk about more things. But today, for the Kyle's anniversary, thank you so much for coming. And so, talking about Kyle Rayner, he has a peculiarity that is the fact that he is an artist too, and this is a fundamental trait because as the ring requires imagination, the way he uses his superpower is almost a design he has to develop. So do you at the time did you see this power? Okay, he has the same power of all the Green Lanterns, but the way he uses it's different. Did you see as an opportunity to explore these right powers?
Yeah, well, I had ideas for Green Lantern long before I was even with the company. I had a sketchbook of just Green Lantern ideas I had. And I remember, growing up, I was always a Marvel fan, but for some reason I would think about just the idea of having a ring that you could create things. I thought, I'm not making boxing gloves and vacuum sweepers and things of that nature. It's almost like if I had a Green Lantern ring, what I would make. And I think about things I like Japanese animation related things. So, I would sketch these things down. As a matter of fact, some of the elements of Kyle Rayner's costume actually came from sketch ideas I had for a John Stewart outfit.
Nice.
It was just something I just did just for myself, And so when it came time to design Kyle, I thought, oh, you know what? I've got some ideas I think I can pull from things I've drawn before. But I was always fascinated in the idea of you think it and then it happens. And I thought there's really no limit, So that's why I always wanted to make sure that Kyle was creating, interesting things because there's no limit to it. It's not like a computer that only has so much disk space or something like that. It's like you can make anything. So I wanted to make sure that we were creating fun and interesting things.
Willpower is the perfect power for artists.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely requires a lot.
Well, first of all, I am a big Green Lantern fan. Those who know me knows that Green Lantern is the most influential character for me. Either Hal, Kyle, Guy, John, now Simon and Jess. I am a big Green Lantern fan. It's an honor to be talking to you, really. And now I want to answer for your heart. In your point of view, what makes Kyle Rayner different? Because we have a lot of Green Lanterns, even not from Earth, like Kilowog, Salak.
Yeah.
What makes Kyle unique, different?
Because he had no idea what he was doing. He came in unqualified. You know, traditionally the ring chooses a ring bearer. You know, it was like if a Green Lantern dies, the artificial intelligence of the ring would scour the galaxy and find its next worthy person.
Yeah.
That wasn't Kyle. Kyle's ring was made in an emergency by Gambit, and you know, he just happened to be in an alley. It was like, here, you take this. You know, now you could say it was destiny for that to happen, but still, Kyle was not necessarily your ideal candidate to be a Green Lantern because he had no idea how the power worked or if even he should be a hero. And I think so we got to see Kyle develop his ability to handle the powers and to grow as a hero from just a person into, you know, a superhero, because he wasn't at first. And I think that makes him different. One of the analogies that Ron Mars had once made, he said, Hal Jordan is like the hero you wish you were. Kyle is the hero that's trying to be the hero, you know, and so we're following him grow and make mistakes and do, you know, and realize, oh, he could have done this better. And he's learning, and the reader is following that journey. So I think every good story needs a journey. I mean, we think about movies that we like, especially with sequels, you know, the characters have to grow, else it's just wasting our time. So I think that's what makes Kyle different.
That's perfect. That's it.
Great.
Great. Yeah, that was a perfect question to finish this video because
to run. If you have any other questions, it's just more like I just.
Oh, do you have any other question, Gabi? I do.
Okay.
Please.
Oh, because then you go. Okay, so as you were saying about the just a Green Lantern gave him the ring, and that's a thing that a lot of people talk about. And for you at the time when you were writing, why? Just what was the reason? Why Kyle received this ring and all the history changed?
Well, again, I think we wanted to show something different because in the Green Lantern history, it's always been exactly. Chosen. It's a destiny. It's more like Hal Jordan was former military. He was a test pilot. Bravery was what he was long before he had the ring. Kyle, not so much. He was just some kid from California that happened to be, you know, walking out of the back of a nightclub in an alley to get some air, and then this alien shows up. You know, so it comes down to, I think readers would maybe ask themselves, what would I do if someone just gave me this ring that could do almost anything? Well, you think about I mentioned the comparison to Spider-Man. When Peter Parker first got his powers, he wasn't a superhero at first. He was just doing things for fun. He was trying to make some money because he was even in a wrestling ring, and he was doing different things until his Uncle Ben was killed. And he realized with great power comes great responsibility. So he had to grow into go from a person with powers to being a hero, and seeing that it's not just your powers, it's the content of your character, which is what's in your heart. So that's what we wanted to have, you know, as this fictional character. Now I think Kyle means a lot to so many people. It's almost like he's real, but
it's a simple person, right? It's a common person.
People feel emotional about it, and I love that. It's kind of like, because I've been reading comics since I was a kid, and I always said to myself, one day I want to do comics and I want to make a character that people really care about, and so hopefully people
Nice.
feel that way about it.
You did.
Yeah.
If you think about Superman or Batman, and then you think about Green Lantern or the Flash, the general thinks about, oh, Barry Allen and Hal Jordan, but there's a generation of people at my age, a little bit older, that grew up reading Kyle, grew up reading Wally West. And if you think, uh, what is your favorite character? What is your favorite Flash? The I will answer is Kyle. I grew up reading Kyle. He's an artist. I'm an artist. I see myself in Kyle Rayner, and that makes him really special.
Well,
And thanks for the creation.
Oh, thank you for the support.
Yeah, at the end, we want to say here it's thank you so much, that Mr. Banks. Kyle is a significant character in Gab's life, in a lot of lives, in mine's. He was my first Green Lantern to read too. So it is very special to us. So thank you so much, and we have to say happy birthday to the Kyle, né? Right? Because so
Happy birthday to this guy here.
yeah, let me show here. Yeah,
30 years.
that's nice. Okay, so 30 years. It's been a long time, and I hope it comes more 100 years for Kyle.
That would
And
be,
and he's a fabulous character. And I want to know, Mr. Banks, do you have some final message?
well. I just want to say we always appreciate all the fan support, because really that's what it comes down to. Because if people didn't support it, we couldn't keep it going. You know, that was one of the things that even inspired them to do that 0 hour anniversary, is that, you know, fans supported it, and so we had to put our best foot forward. Also, you know, keep in mind that Gabriel, you mentioned that you like the Flash. You know, the Flash. I got the chance to draw the Flash in the 0 hour story. You know, the Flash is also a character I really like to do. You know, if I wasn't working on what I'm working on now, you know, that would be something I definitely would also like to draw. You know, drawing the Flash is always a lot of fun. Right now, I'm doing some projects for the Milestone Media imprint of DC Comics. I'm working on a book, a 4-issue miniseries called Shadow Cabinet, and so we're really trying to have the Milestone characters kind of put out there a little bit. Well, a lot of people may not know much about them. They might be familiar with Static Shock, probably because of the animated series, but there's a lot of rich characters that we're really trying to develop. But, you know, in the meantime, you know, I think I still have that. I'll always have that connection to Green Lantern. I don't think that's ever going to change, and I hope it doesn't.
You on the Flash it is something I really like to see it.
Yeah, of course. All of us.
Got any other questions? I know you got to have some more questions, right?
Mine's over. I don't know. Gabriel, do you have one more question?
Well, I say everything that I would like to ask.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, that's okay. We made it on time. That's
I think when I was here before, you mentioned that you know Ivan Hayes.
yeah,
Yes.
of course.
And he's one of my favorite artists of all time. You know, when we do this again, we got to see if we can get him on here so I can just go.
Of course.
Oh, there he is.
We can say we can take him here. Yeah.
I love everything about it. Yeah.
He's awesome. Yeah. We can take him here. Yeah, of course. We just
It would be
do
great.
this.
Ivan made history with Green
course.
Lantern. Before Ivan and Geoff Jones, Green Lantern was something huge.
Yeah.
After them, it was a whole universe.
Right. I mean, everything he works on, I just, you know, he could teach me, even though I'm older. But you know, his artwork is just, I think he's one of the greatest artists.
Yes.
I always say that.
And that means a lot for us because he's Brazilian.
We're Brazilian,
So-
yeah. Yeah.
Because of even race, we have to hope that we can get there. You know?
Yeah.
Do you know Lucas Meyer?
No.
He's I think he's from Brazil. I think I met him at a convention in North Carolina, but I met him and a few others. But he draws. Lucas draws Teen Titans, I think, and I think he's also done some recent Justice League covers.
Lucas Maia?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know him.
Meyer. Let me look this up real quick.
Let's go. Enquanto isso, Gabriel, você gostaria de dar sua mensagem final?
Olha, realmente é uma honra estar aqui falando com Darryl Banks, porque, como todo mundo sabe, realmente eu sou fissurado em Lanterna Verde. Eu tenho para mais de 100 quadrinhos de Lanterna Verde em casa. Então, realmente uma honra estar aqui. Valeu pelo convite, Caio.
Eu que agradeço.
Thanks for being here, Darryl. It's really an honor to be talking to you. E é isso, pessoal. Foi muito legal e é muito bom aprender um pouco mais sobre o Kyle e sobre os personagens que a gente tanto ama, né? We talk about the initial plans of Hal Jordan, Parallax. That was something I didn't know, and now that I know, I love him even more.
Oh, good.
So it is really great to be here talking to you and discovering this behind the scenes.
Good.
Of course.
Yeah. By the way, Lucas Meyer is on Instagram. It's his last name is spelled Meyer. Lucas Meyer. It's a great young Brazilian artist.
Oh, okay. I'll find it. That's it, guys.
All right.
Thank you so much. That it was great. I hope you enjoy your Saturday. For who is watching after the live, thank you so much.
Thanks again.
I think we lost him.
I
think we lost him.
Okay.
But thank you so much, Darryl. Thank you for everyone that watches us, and for all the Kyles and Green Lanterns fans.
All right. Thanks a lot. Have a good day.
Technical issues. Have a good day.
All right, you too. Thank you very much.
Bye. Thank you so much.